Here are the top 10 events that shaped Japanese politics in 2022. Japan had upper house elections on July 10th. The ruling party was able to maintain seats above 2/3 of the house. This number is important because it would be easier for the LDP to push through constitutional revision. As a matter of fact, the LDP won as many seats the main opposition party lost, so it was a good day for the ruling party. 35 women politicians were elected, which is the highest number of women winning an office in Japan's upper house election. Another funny yet important event is the NHK's party's ability to secure one seat with an extremely controversial person, Yoshikazu Higashitani. He's also known as Gashi. You might not believe this, but this man has not been in Japan since early 2022, which means that he ran for this election remotely. He has also not participated in any sessions, and the reason why he's out of the country is crazy. Apparently he scammed people by promising they could meet BTS in person, charge a certain fee, and rug pull by blaming COVID. The police have received complaints that accuses Gashi for slander, defamation, and threats. Apparently he'll come back for a hearing in March 2023. Flaws of a democracy, am I right? Japan held the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, and there's been a rumor about bribery since 2020. The Tokyo Olympics has been plagued with problems, which includes a stadium blueprint that was completely scrapped, logo plagiarism, the Tsukiji fish market relocation, and the scrapped Mikiko opening ceremony plan. On top of such issues, French prosecutors were investigating corruption allegations regarding the Tokyo Olympics bid. Most of this got confirmed with this year's arrest of Haruyuki Takahashi, former Tokyo Olympics official and a former executive at Dentsu. This man was arrested 4 times over this year. Long story short, the chairman and former executives of major companies such as Aoki and Kadogawa were arrested as well. The arrests are about briberies regarding sponsorships. Takahashi was eventually released on bail on December 27th. His release doesn't really end this entire scandal. In November, prosecutors raided Dentsu to investigate and find documents whether the Tokyo Olympics bid was rigged. Investigations are still going on, although I think it's safe to assume that the bid was rigged. This is bad because Japan could lose any chance to host future games. For example, Sapporo stopped their campaign to promote their bid for the 2030 Winter Games because of the ongoing corruption investigations. Even if Sapporo didn't stop their promotion efforts, the likelihood of being selected for the 2030 Games is slim. On top of bribery scandals and bid rigging allegations, the newly built national stadium still continues to drain too much money. The maintenance fee is roughly 2.4 billion yen, and yet the revenue generated from the stadium is roughly 1 billion yen. The remaining fees will be paid through taxes. Perhaps COVID is to blame, but the whole clean, sustainable Olympics model definitely went out the window. Personally, the Tokyo Olympics has so much potential, but corporation greed and COVID definitely made everything a mediocre experience, which includes the opening ceremony as well. North Korea always appears in Japanese news because of the record-breaking amount of missiles shot this year. There were more than 36 missile experiences throughout the year, and more than 90 missiles were shot. As of November 18, it was reported that North Korea may possess the capability to hit American mainland. North Korean missile testing isn't anything new, but this threat will need to be addressed sooner than later. I'm assuming that retirement plans doesn't really appeal to the majority of my viewers, but hear me out. You should have a retirement plan from an early age. For example, in America, the regular citizen can secure wealth and financial stability through IRAs and 401ks. These accounts allow individuals to invest in stocks and ETFs without paying taxes. This isn't financial advice, but you should really take advantage of these retirement funds. Japan has a similar system called NISA. This tax benefit started in 2014. Unlike IRAs and 401ks, Japan's tax exemption period was only 5 or 20 years depending on the NISA type. Starting from 2024, NISA's tax exemption period would be terminated. Residents of Japan who invest through a NISA account do not need to pay the 20% capital gains and dividend taxes. Additionally, citizens can invest up to 1.2 to 2.4 million yen a year, which is a 200% increase from the previous system. Investors can invest up to 80 million yen, which is another significant jump as well. The NISA changes are part of Kishida's new capitalism policy, which is a domestic economic revitalization plan. This is honestly great news because lax rules should encourage people to invest more money and build wealth. Building wealth is important because taxpayers are decreasing. Less taxpayers mean that it will be harder for the government to sustain their wonderful social welfare system. The government needs to make sure that people can save enough money and not be too reliant on social welfare. Another important topic that may be a bit obscure for non-Japanese viewers is Okinawa's relationship with Japan. After World War II, Okinawa was occupied by America until May 15, 1972. 2022 was Okinawa's 50th anniversary of Reversion. While it's great that Japan reunited with Okinawa, relationships between the two have never been peaceful. Okinawa was forcibly annexed by Imperial Japan during the 1870s, and Okinawans were treated as second-class citizens by mainlanders. During the war, Okinawans as young as 14 years old were forced to serve, and 1 out of 4 Okinawans died. Immediately afterwards, America created bases, which still exist to this day. Continued American presence is the source of division between the local and central government. In 1995, 3 Marines raped a 12-year-old girl, which resulted in Japan and America agreeing that Okinawa's burden should be lifted. There's more to the agreement, but in 1996, both governments agreed that Marine Corps Air Station Futenma should be returned and a downsized facility should be relocated within Okinawa. This wasn't seen as truly lifting the burden off Okinawa. Okinawans have protested against the relocation and have voted for an anti-base governor. Nonetheless, the Japanese government continues to work towards creating a new facility in Hinoko. Resentment is growing on both sides, with locals referring to the horrors of war and mainlanders referring to national security. Regardless of being reunited with Japan for 50 years, Okinawa and the rest of Japan will continue to experience difficulty. This may be a bit surprising, but Shinzo Abe's funeral divided Japan. This was the second time to conduct a state funeral after World War II. The first state funeral was for Shigeru Yoshida, the prime minister who helped lead post-war Japan. Since Shigeru, the government did not hold any funerals for prime ministers. It was common for the LDP to hold inter-party funerals, and politicians around the globe would attend such funerals. When Kishida announced that Japan will hold a state funeral for Shinzo Abe, this sparked a lot of criticisms. First of all, the Kishida cabinet made a cabinet decision regarding the funeral. A cabinet decision does not require the parliament to agree. Therefore, the prime minister made an executive decision with his small team. Second, there is no standard and laws regarding state funerals. The government approved the funeral by calling it a ceremony. Lawmakers are currently drafting state funeral laws, which is a bit late. Also, why should Abe receive a state funeral? He is the longest ruling prime minister. He was active with foreign policy in strengthening Japan's defense system. However, he is also full of controversy. Former Prime Minister Eisaku Sato received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1974. He is the first Asian to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. He is also the only Japanese to date to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. He is also the only Prime Minister to receive a Nobel Prize, yet he did not receive a state funeral. Why should Abe receive a state funeral if other Prime Ministers have similar or greater achievements? Last but not least, a state funeral forces citizens to take a stance. Citizens were not forced to attend or show respect, but because it was a public event, I'm sure citizens felt some level of pressure. In the end, the funeral took place without problems, but it ended up dividing the country into pro and anti-state funeral. The yen took a huge dip in 2022. The yen hit 151 yen per dollar in October, which is the lowest it's been in 32 years. The yen kept on dipping because the Bank of Japan refused to increase interest rates. Other central banks kept on increasing interest rates to combat inflation, but Japan's lack of hikes made the yen less attractive as an investment. The yen dropped from 114 yen to 151 yen over the past year. The rate is better at the moment at roughly 135 yen per dollar, as the BOJ took a U-turn on December 20th by increasing interest rates. I have a few videos regarding the yen crash, so you can check those out for details. For number 3, we have the Unification Church scandal. The Unification Church gained attention after Abe's killer accused Shinzo Abe for being connected to the church, which revealed the LDP's unanswered ties to the organization. Out of 380 LDP legislative members, 179 members had some kind of relationship with the Unification Church. That's roughly half of the members. Some ties are shallow, such as sending a small letter to the organization, but it is a relationship nonetheless. The Unification Church is a cult that demands high amounts of donations through fear or coercion. According to the doctrine, their founder is the second coming of Christ, and it was his job to conduct mass weddings among true believers. Children born into the cult are subject to financial, emotional, and spiritual abuse. Sayuri Ogawa, who was born into the cult, shared how her parents took 2 million yen from her salary. If she refused to give up her salary, her parents would swing by her workplace and pressure her to cave in. The Japanese government passed laws on December 10th to prohibit malicious practice in regards to donations. The government continues to investigate the Unification Church and is considering to dissolve this cult in Japan. The Unification Church and its problem is nothing new, as the cult was formed in 1954. However, as mentioned previously, Shinzo Abe's assassination revealed the ties between the church and the LDP. The revelation of the LDP and the church's tie tanked Kishida's approval rate as he failed to provide a coherent response when things were revealed. Additionally, this revelation added fuel to the anti-state funeral narrative, as there is evidence that Shinzo Abe spoke at the Unification Church events. This problem is far from over, and it will continue to be a big political issue in 2023. The second greatest event in 2022 is Japan's defense budget announcement. To summarize, Japan announced that they will increase their defense budget to 2% from 1% of their GDP. This should place Japan to become the third largest military spender in the next 5 years. Japan will also attain counter-strike capabilities. This will transform Japan's defense system from defensive to offensive. Increased North Korean missiles and Chinese activities definitely legitimize Japan's desire to buff their military. This announcement also sparked a series of debate within the LDP as Kishida announced that he would like to increase taxes to fund the military budget. Because of his comments, 2022 ended with one final political drama. This drama resulted in Kishida's approval ratings to further decrease. If you want to learn more about this announcement and drama, you can check out these videos. The greatest event of 2022 is Shinzo Abe's assassination. To briefly summarize, Abe was assassinated during a political campaign on July 8, 2022 by Tetsuya Yamagami. So why was he assassinated? Tetsuya believed that Abe was connected to the Unification Church. His grudge stems from the fact that his mother's affiliation with the cult ruined their lives. This should have been revealed in a different manner, but Abe's assassination revealed the Unification Church's wrongdoings. Other than immediate effects, there's another major consequence of his assassination. The strongest politician in Japan is not the Prime Minister. The strongest politician is the politician with the largest faction. Shinzo Abe had the largest faction within the LDP, which means he also has significant power within the LDP. LDP members elect their party leader every 3 years and the selected leader becomes the Prime Minister. If someone needs votes, Abe can get his faction to back a candidate only if the candidate returns a favor. That's how faction politics work in Japan. The loss of Abe means that the LDP loses an influential player within the party, and whoever can step into his position may become the next key figure. We'll see how faction politics play out in 2023. So far, it seems like Kishida is trying to become the next Abe by using the state funeral to declare his will to follow in Abe's steps, buffing the military, and showing interest in revising the constitution. And here are the top 10 events that shaped Japan in 2022. I would love to hear your thoughts on these events, so please leave a comment below and subscribe to learn more about Japanese politics.